People get so caught up in the fact that they have limits that they rarely exert the effort required to get close to them. By James Clear. Now, try to imagine a version of yourself who doesn't waste any time. They always do what they're supposed to do when they need to, and they don't procrastinate, and they keep their promises that they make to themselves, and essentially build a life for yourself of success. Imagine you could clone yourself and send it out into the world and do all of the hard tasks that you don't want to do. That exists, but the problem is it's you. So the problem right now is that if you feel stuck, you can see that the grass is greener on the other side of the hill. You know that you could change and you know that you should change, but you're stuck looking at it. You're still on this side and you don't know how to get over there. That's a uniquely painful situation, but it happens to everyone and it's necessary. It's the part where you're stagnant and you're stuck in the way that you are, but you're not happy about it anymore. You want to change, but you're not miserable enough to do it yet. This is a quote from Jordan Peterson in his book 12 Rules for Life. The most dangerous thing you can do is to do nothing because you are too afraid of making a mistake. Here's another quote. This is by Dr. Dispenza in his book Breaking the Habit of Being Yourself. When the mind and body are in opposition, change will never happen. Thinking about change isn't enough. Your brain listens to logic, but your body listens to emotion, not logic. So I've hit you with those two boring quotes and you're saying that's all really inspirational, but unfortunately I've tried this. I've tried to change. I've tried to change my identity, my subconscious, the way I think about myself, and life gets in the way, everything pops up, and I'm stuck back at square one, and I just end up feeling like worse of a failure. Why would I even try when I know exactly why it's gonna go? The problem is that that's what I did. I skipped this step of thinking deeply about what it was that I wanted, and I just went ahead trying to hit the goals that I'd set without really thinking about why. So in this video, we're gonna do that. If you want a step-by-step guide on how to build habits that stick, go to chapter 13. The 13th video in this series is essentially everything that you're gonna need. It's the best part, it's the meat of the whole sandwich. But right now, we're gonna do things the proper way, and we're gonna look into the why behind our goals. All right, for everyone else, we are going to go into the fact that failure to change will happen every time you try to change your conscious, but not your subconscious. Now, the next part of this video is a kind of what I understood to be a really good way to explain this. And this comes from Kenny Bender's YouTube channel. He does the same thing where he tests out things, self-experimentation, psychology, and works on this stuff. He's great. And he said that essentially your mind can be compared to a snail on a ship. That snail is your conscious and it's going north, or at least trying to, because the ship is your subconscious and it's going south. The problem with that is that you can keep going the same direction, but you're not going to make it. Now, the third thing you need to introduce is the captain of the ship, who is steering your subconscious. That is your identity. And your identity is based on what your subconscious believes about you. So often you can have really good days when you try consciously to change, and you will still end up sliding back into old habits, even sometimes at the end of that day. That's because you need to raise your baseline identity level up. Think of it like a rubber band. If you hold a rubber band at the bottom, I should have brought one. If you hold it at the bottom and you stretch it, you're trying to get to a place that stretches you, and it doesn't work out because when you let go, it's going to snap back down to what it was before. But if you move your baseline identity up, you have to stretch it less. I don't know if that makes sense, but if I get a rubber band, I'll come back and show you. Essentially, it's hard to change your habits if you never change the underlying beliefs that led to your past behavior, according to James Clear. You have a new goal and a new plan, but you haven't changed who you are. So to take your baseline identity and upgrade it, it takes a few things, and I've put it as 4 steps to make things simple. You can write this down if you're taking notes. Put it under video 2. So This is step number one, and it's to check your why. This isn't as important as your life's purpose, but it's the reason behind your goals. And you need to check this because if you set a why reason that is based in insecurity, like I want to do better than this person, then when you hit that goal, you're not going to know what to do after that. Or if it doesn't work out, you're still going to feel like a failure, but it's worse now. You have to pick why reasons behind your goals that are based out of a positive place in your identity. Let's take an example and say your goal is you want to have a lot of money. And you basically can figure out how to peel the layers back behind this and get to the root of it by asking the question, why? You want to have a lot of money? Why? Because you want to have a nice car. Why? Because you want to be able to afford the lifestyle that you want. Why? Because you feel like it means success. Why? Because you want people to notice you. Why? Because you want their attention. Why? Because you feel insecure. That's not going to work. It's different for many people, but for some people, it's something like because I feel unloved, because I feel like I have to be perfect to be loved and I need to do everything perfectly. It depends and it's different for everyone, but it would be better to focus on things that more identify with who you are at a baseline or the kind of person that you were when you were a child. Things like being really good in sports and the feeling that that gave you, or if you were very creative and you wanted to go down more creative paths, but life got in the way. The problem is that we can't skip this area. We need to make sure that your why is simple enough, but legit. It can't be super complex, or you should just keep asking the question why. It could be something like, I'm looking at the trajectory my life is on right now, and if I continue down this road, it's going to give me pain and suffering. I want to avoid pain and suffering in my future. That works too. But anyways, we can go on to say that if you're doing all right where you're at, good. I would still recommend this step, but skip to video 13 if you want a detailed summary. Anyways, two people can want radically different lives, but one of those people just wants it, and the other one pairs that desire with repeated action. That's why it's not intelligence or opportunity that means you successfully get your goals. It's that you need to check the reason behind your goals. So make sure you write something down. Step number 2, once you check your why, you're free to pursue your desires. And I mean, as long as they're okay, goodness. But once you define your desires, you must associate them with the best version of yourself. Think about what you want, and then use your imagination to staple that onto a cartoon character of you. And what that's going to do is reinforce your subconscious belief about yourself. Here's how you do that specifically. It's kind of fun. You visualize specifics, the journey, the success, the reaction of people you know. And the key is it does have to be you. It can't be someone else. You need to envision exactly what that's going to feel like when you do hit that success. And the reason why is because you want to paint this as vividly as possible in your imagination so your subconscious believes it. If your imagination is a little rusty, tie it to a specific place, time, and moment. Think about the details in the room. Think about, well, I'll give an example. Say you want to be more in shape. You can take that and you can take it as far as you want. Like you could go all the way and say, I want to be 200 pounds of lean muscle. I want to be jacked. I want to have tattoos all over my body. I want to be like, I don't know. You know, you're standing there, you're surrounded with your friends and you see yourself almost as though it's through someone else's eyes. Or if you want to become a musician and you want to play guitar, you imagine yourself maybe on a stage, maybe playing to yourself, maybe doing whatever that you love, and you're wearing a certain amount of clothes, it's whatever. You just get with the specifics of it. And the reason why is because I'm going to hit you with another quote from Dr. Joe Dispenza. He says, the language of the mind is logic. The language of the body is emotion. Now, that's important because a scientific real phenomenon of the human mind is that it can't differentiate between imagination and reality. Your subconscious will start to believe that something is real if you imagine it feels real. And this is the point where visualization stops being like imagination and becomes something that can influence reality. So basically, whenever you have this imagined experience, real or vividly imagined, any sort of experience that triggers emotion, it teaches your body to believe what kind of person that you're telling it to believe. So this subconscious can be influenced in a lot of ways. I mean, picture your ideal self in mind, and then you could do things like put pictures of it that are inspirational around your house. You could do things like write about it, come up with a manifesto, and come up with something that you can repeat to yourself to almost brainwash your conscious so that your subconscious gets fed. And what this does is this turns your ship around because it's turning your identity around. This is a crucial step. And for anyone that's really not into this, feel free to skip to video 13, as I've said. Anyways, step number 3 is to notice the gap. And I'm talking about the gap between your current self and your ideal self. So if this is a graph and you're here, you could take the projection of your trajectory of the ideal self and put yourself at the top, or you could take a current trajectory, and I'm not going to say it's 0, but less than your ideal. So you need to notice the gap between those two lines. And the reason why is because you need to describe specifics between what you're missing and what you want to have. So that will kind of be your guide as to what exactly to change. Is it something about the way that the ideal self thinks, how the ideal self walks, moves, talks, their motivations, their habits? I mean, their habits, most of all, would be completely different. So just think about that. But you also have to acknowledge that there's only one version of you. There's infinite possibilities of what can happen, but only one of those two versions of yourself is going to come out on top. So step number 4 is we're going to make sure that we kill the old version of yourself. If you try to kill the old or current version of yourself, it will work hard to throw resistance at you. This resistance is not going to be easy to overcome. In fact, it's speaking to you in the language of your own mind. It's the voice that is in your head is trying to keep your old habits alive. It's telling you things like sleep in today. Your workout doesn't apply to today. We'll make up for it tomorrow, or who knows, it could be anything. But it's that voice that you love to hear. It's just telling you, just relax. It doesn't apply today. You'll do it later. That kind of a thing. And it knows us and it tricks us into believing it. So the difference between you and your ideal version is large. When you decide to change, the resistance you feel isn't random. It's your old identity trying to survive. So the body has memorized who you've been, and anything new, any new habits you try to push on yourself is going to feel unfamiliar and cause sort of an alarm system to go off. In fact, there's so much resistance that comes up in your mind that just me talking about it is probably making your future feel gray and gloomy. But don't worry, it's not all just ashes and pain in the future. We do have tips and shortcuts that we can use on how to fix that. So I will see you in the next video.